Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Driven Wyld. Today we are talking about Dashers deserve no tax on tips. Make your voice heard. So with no tax on tips legislation going around and currently excluding app-based workers such as Doordash, Uber Eats, and Grubhub drivers, Doordash, ironically enough, is actually pushing for us to be included in that. Now, I'm sure there is ulterior motives. I know there's a lot of drivers that are probably going to find some negative spin on it, but there are positives to that. But I also want to hear what Doordash has to say on the subject. So with that said, we are talking about everything that's being said in this article, how it actually is for Doordash, Uber Eats, and Grubhub drivers and customers, and everything in between. So with that said, let's get started. Millions of people are turning to Doordash to earn what they need when they need it on their own terms. More people dash in 2024 than ever before. Over 7.5 million and earned more than $17 billion on our platform. Dashers always keep 100% of their tips. Unlike other tipped workers, Dashers and other independent workers could be left out of receiving a major new tax break. Okay, well, first off, let's acknowledge the truth here. DoorDash does not give 100% of their tips. In fact, I almost guarantee the reason they're doing this is to make it harder for us to catch them taking tips from us, because we've seen that happen. We've seen DoorDash skim tips from drivers more than once, even today. I remember talking to people that own their own pizzeria, and they have sent their orders that they receive from their website to DoorDash, and they find that they're not getting 100% of the tips they were supposed to receive. And that's happening more and more often. Now, there are a lot of people that are trying to use this as a reason to tip in cash after, but we also know that's a lot of bullshit too. So for the people that are about to go in my comments section, like,
You see, this is why you don't tip at first, because they'll take your tips from you.
we both know that's a bunch of bullshit and you're not actually gonna tip in cash after, so you can fuck off for that. That said, that is not the point of this video. It's about no tax on tips. Let's keep going. That's because the current version of the federal no tax on tips excludes independent contractors working with app-based platforms, penalizing millions of people who choose to be their own boss. Okay, first off, agree with their point. But I do want to bring this up. Is it penalizing independent contractors if you're not including them in something? Because with that logic, we could go back to Dasher rewards and talk about the scheduling system you add layers and layers of qualifications for. If I could defend that point with they're not penalizing you, they're just not rewarding you for not doing something, then you can make the same argument here. I don't believe in selective integrity. Like, pick a lane. Is it penalizing your drivers with the Dasher rewards, and is the legislation penalizing drivers for not including them? Or are they both not rewarding them? Pick a lane. DoorDash believes this is just plain wrong. That's why we're working to mobilize millions of Dashers through our DashRoots Advocacy network to make their voices heard in Washington, D.C. Now is the time for Dashers to write to their representatives and senators and tell them that their tips should be treated as everyone else's. In fact, more than 5,500 Dashers and counting have already made their voices heard. This is a matter of basic fairness. Tips are tips. There's no reason to punish Dashers simply because of how they work, said Max Rettig, DoorDash's global head of public policy. Millions of hardworking Dashers deserve this cut, and now is the time for Dashers to make sure federal lawmakers get this right. Okay, well, let's acknowledge a couple of things here. Number one, I agree with the point that tips are tips because the intention is to tip the person, not the driver, not the waitress, not the restaurant, not the service person, not whatever. A person for something that they're doing. That is the purpose of a tip. That also said, however, this is just exposing a reality that DoorDash also knows, but has also created too. Independent contractors are heavily scrutinized to such a horrendous degree. Because the reality is that DoorDashers deserve no tax on tips. Sure, But DoorDashers also deserve to be treated the same way as everyone else, as a whole, not just for tips. There's always been this weird discrimination towards gig workers being independent contractors. There's a lot of people that they just treat people differently in general. So why is it that so many people hate independent contractors for the stupidest of reasons? You're in business for yourself. Why is it that when I go into a restaurant, I'm treated differently than any other person going into that place? That's not right. Now, I am going to leave the link to DashRoots Advocacy Network in there, but regardless of that, there is another major point that needs to be brought up. You got to make sure your taxes are done right as a whole, whether you're a gig worker looking to get their taxes done properly, or somebody who's looking to be in business for themselves, or somebody who works a W-2 on top of their gig work. You got to make sure that your taxes are done effectively and to the standards that the IRS currently has in place until other things change. That is why it is vital that you're working with a qualified tax professional to make sure it's done properly. That also said, you also don't want to spend too much in this area, especially as you accumulate 1099s and other business receipts. That is why I partnered with GigTax to help gig workers save money. Your time is too valuable to waste on tax prep. So keep on hustling and have GigTax help you save big. Whether you're a rideshare driver, food delivery driver, or do any other form of self-employment, stop wasting time on taxes that slow you down. GigTax was built by somebody who gets it. Joseph Mayo is a gig worker with over 7,000 deliveries on 7 platforms since 2020. And GigTax gets your taxes done right and starting at just $99. Enjoy exclusive perks such as electronic and state filing, secure portal access, year-round support from dedicated tax pros, and audit protection, all of which are included. File in less than 24 hours or get your money back. Quite frankly, your time is money and we're here to save on both. So get back to what you do best, making the most amount of money in the least amount of time and in the safest possible way. Beyond grateful for his services, Joseph went above and beyond to make the process easy and convenient. I recommend him to everyone. Book your strategy session now at gigtaxservice.com/drivenwyld. Use the code WYLD to access your special offering and simplify and save with GigTax today. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. As always, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.